Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 18 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Sarah Ann. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you're enjoying the season so far. And if you guys want to be house guest of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, we need to get going here because there's so much to talk about, and I just want to warn you guys, like, if you're one of those people that doesn't watch, like, the whole thing, this is the day to watch the whole thing because all the crazy stuff is really at the end, and I don't mean to be annoying and put things at the end, but like chronologically, that's just how it goes. So, alright, stick around. So, first of all, yesterday, he was trying desperately to get Michelle to use the veto and then get James to put Day up as the replacement nominee. We've already been seeing this in action. So he goes up to the HOH room where James, Nicole, Corey, and Michelle were already hanging out. And they were talking about how they want to let Frank know that he's going home soon because they don't want to have to pretend all week that they're keeping him, and it like crushes their souls to lie to him while he's trying to stay in the house. But they don't know how to tell him he's going. Maybe just like pull him aside and say, hey, you're going. I mean, that makes sense. But he is not aware of all this when he goes up there. So he's like, do I need to like get everyone in the house together in one room to convince you guys that the numbers are there and that everyone's committed to this? So then they're like, yeah. So then he says the two magical words of Big Brother, house meeting. So he's like, should I get a house meeting going? Like, should I do it? And they're just like, yes, do that. Okay, so then Frank leaves, and they start talking again about how they need to tell him it's over. We're sticking a fork in you because you're done. So then Michelle makes it clear, like, there is no way that she's going to use the veto this week. And then it's time to talk about Frank some more. So James is like, yeah, Nicole, Frank threw you under the bus. You said that you guys have a final two deal. And Michelle's like, yeah, he told me that too. And of course, like, Nicole is saying, we don't have a final two deal. Like, there's no freaking way that Fricker, she totally has a final two deal with him. Are you kidding me? She denies everything. She's got to own up to something once in a while because it's just ridiculous. But anyway, Michelle also reveals that Frank told her that the vets are not getting the same weekly stipend as the newbies. They're getting like a flat rate, and then if they make the jury, they get more. So he's been telling people this so that the vets can't be like, oh, I just want to stay until jury or stay another week so I get more money, because that's not how it works for them. So when Nicole and James find out about this, they're not happy because they did not want that information getting out, and they're like, it's going to be weird with the newbies now that they know this, and it just like puts us on a different plane. Like, we're outsiders now. Alright. Well, haven't you been outsiders the whole time? So Day goes up to the HOH room, and she's like, I'm really trying not to, but I am getting paranoid with Frank running all over this house trying to get me nominated. And she's like, I trust you guys, but you can't blame me for being paranoid. So Nicole's like, should we just tell him that he's going? Just end this now? And Day's like, no, let him do his thing. You know, he's up on the block. It's only fair that he gets to campaign to you guys. So James is just like, Day, I promise you I'm not going to put you up on the block. Yeah, because it really means a lot when James says he's not going to put somebody up. Maybe you should ask Bridget about that. Alright, so Frank, all last night, basically, was trying to get everybody together for this house meeting, except for Day and Zakiya, because obviously he doesn't want Day there, you know, but he also doesn't want Zakiya there because he feels like she is gonna spill the beans to Day. But honestly, Day already freaking knows about this. She knows what's going on. But everybody keeps putting this meeting off. They're just like, oh, we can't do it right now because so-and-so is asleep. Like, we need to wait until later when everybody's awake. They were even pretending to be asleep at certain times to just avoid this meeting. So then Paulie and Corey were chatting in the HOH room, and Paulie's just like, yeah, man, it'd be really cool if we did flip the house this week. It would be a classic Big Brother moment type thing. But then he's like, but we can't do it because it would freak people out, and we have to stay focused and split up Frank and Bridget because the two of them together are freaking dangerous. We can't have that. So then James joins them, and Paulie's like, you know, Michelle really needs to tell Frank that she's not going to use the power veto, because it's not cool to be stringing him along like this, having him running around campaigning when it's just not going to happen. So then James is like, all right, well, we know Frank is going this week. Sounds good. But what's the plan for next week? So Paulie's like, well, we should go after Day, put her up next to Zakiya. Zakiya's the pawn. I don't understand how Paulie thinks that Zakiya is going to be okay with this. Like, if you do that to her, she is going to freaking light your hair on fire. And there's not a lot left, so, like, you need to be careful with it. But anyway, Paulie is also saying, you know, maybe we should just throw the HOH next week to Victor or Paul and let them do it, so then we don't have the blood on our hands. And they feel really good about all the guys working together. They trust that Victor and Paul would do what they want. And you know what? They probably would. So then James goes and talks to Day. He doesn't tell her that, like, Paulie was saying she's next week. But he does warn her, you need to stay close to Frank tonight. He's trying to make moves, get people together. You need to stop that. Also, if you see any large groups forming, make sure you go ahead and join them. So Day is like, yes, for sure. I'm ready to follow Frank around all night. Let's do this. She is going into full talk block mode. So last night, the backyard finally opened up after like 5 or 6 days of being closed for competitions and stuff. So the house guests were just like, yes, yes, yes. Good luck, Frank, trying to get everybody together now that the backyard is open. So let's see Davon Talk Blocker in action. Frank wanders into the bathroom while Nicole's in there doing her makeup in the bathroom area. She wasn't in the toilet. And he starts trying to talk game with her. He's just like, what do you think I should do? What do I do? And Nicole's like, I don't know. And then Davon walks in, and she's like, oh, Nicole, you going outside? And she's just like, yeah. And then Dave's like, you want me to wait for you? Boom! Talk blocked. And Frank was pissed about it. Don't think he didn't pick up on that, because he was complaining about it later. He was telling the guys, like, oh, Dave's blocking all my talks. What the hell? All right. So Bridget is seeing... Sean! Shh! So then Bridget is seeing that this meeting is not really coming together. So she's trying to enlist Natalie to help make it happen. So she's telling her, like, Day has to go this week. Day is the one starting the drama. She's spreading rumors. And she is the reason that Bronte went home a few weeks ago. So, like, we gotta get rid of her. And James is only gonna put Day up on the block if the whole house is behind the decision. So then she's explaining how they're going to have this house meeting, and it's only going to happen with Day or Zakiya in the diary room. And then she's like, this is where you come in. We need you, Natalie, to distract whoever is not in the diary room, either Day or Zakiya, while everybody else is upstairs. So you can tell Natalie does not want to do this. She's just like, oh, I don't know, how would I even distract them? I'm like, what? So then she's suggesting Bridget tries to clear the air with Michelle. She's like, you need to mend that relationship. Maybe that will make her want to use the veto. And Bridget's like, yeah, I've tried to talk to Michelle before, and she is not having it. All right, so then a little after 3 a.m., finally, all the house guests are up in the HOH room. And I mean all of the house guests, meaning Day and Zakiya were also up there. It was awkward because everybody knew something was up. So Day was just like, what's going on? Why is everybody up here? So then there was awkward chit-chat for a few minutes, and Paul's like, all right, guys, I want to let the cat out of the bag. And it was still, like, people were thinking, like, no, don't start it. Because then they were like, are you gonna fart? Is that what that means? So a few more minutes go by, and Day's just like, is this supposed to be a house meeting or something? Like, seriously, why is everybody up here? And Frank is like, well, everybody except for, like, 1 or 2 people are supposed to be up here. Yeah, so then Paul is like, you know what, let's just get everything out in the open. He's trying to, like, facilitate this house meeting, and he starts talking about the upcoming power veto ceremony. He's like, we're all smart individuals in here. We all know the information that's going around the house. We know the situation. So let's just get it all out there. House discussion. It's Big Brother Canada. When Kelsey was HOH, they had the house discussions. So Frank is like, all right, you know what? I want the power veto used, and I want Day to go up in my spot. And Day is just like, yeah, the power veto's not gonna get used. And Frank is like, is that for sure? Like 100%? And then Michelle's like, raise your hand if you want Day out this week. So, like, obviously nobody raises their hand or, like, says anything. And Frank is like, no one is going to admit to that with Day in the room. Let's be real. So then Frank is like, he's trying to make his argument. He's like, this is what the people watching the show want to see. They want to see the whole house flip. Like, that would be crazy awesome. And Day is just like, Frank, I want you to know I respect what you're doing. Like, I would be upset personally if you just, like, rolled over and died this week. Like, that would suck. Because we know Day loves the game. So she's giving him props for doing his thing. But then they're going back and forth a bit, arguing, you know, who is being lied to by everyone and who is getting the truth. So then Day is just like, you know what? Should I just leave the room so that you guys can talk? What's the deal? And everybody else is just freaking quiet. Like, nobody's contributing to this conversation except for Day and Frank and a little bit of Paul. So eventually Paulie speaks up and he's just like, I'm freaking pissed. I'm not into this house meeting type thing. I think it's really messed up. And he wanted to pull Frank aside individually and tell him, like, the numbers are not there so that he wouldn't go around the house looking like an idiot. And Frank is just like, what do you mean an idiot? And Paulie's like, sorry, bro, I didn't mean like that. So then Paulie is getting angry and, like, raising his voice. He's upset about how this house meeting went. So then Frank is like, well, I want to thank you for freaking speaking up unlike everybody else here. And then he's like calling everybody out for being spineless except for Paulie and Day. He's like, thank you guys for having backbones. You're the only ones in this house who do. All right, meeting's over. So post-meeting, Frank is in the kitchen with Paulie and Victor, and they're just like, we were going to tell you, man. We were going to tell you, but they didn't give us a chance. So Frank is like, whatever. Is it me going home this week? Yeah, but he says it's all good. So then Frank and Day were chatting alone in the London room. Sean! Shh! So they were chatting alone in the London room. They hash out some of their issues. The whole slut thing comes back again. And they take care of that. But more importantly, Frank starts throwing Nicole under the bus. I mean, obviously he feels betrayed by her because she's been blowing smoke up his butt for how many days now? So he's telling Day, like, you cannot trust her. She's playing both sides. That thing that I told you during the HOH competition, that was true. Nicole told me that you were coming after me. Like, that is for real. And Day is just like, yeah, I totally believe it. So then at like 6 in the morning, Day has a long, like, 2-hour conversation with Bridget. And they really clear the air, too. They talk about how Bridget feels like she's been bullied and stuff. They're hashing all that out. And then they talk about possibly working together in the future. And you gotta know, Day is like, well, Frank's leaving this week. Somebody's gonna have to scoop up Bridget. Why shouldn't it be me? So I feel like they really bonded during that conversation, but we'll see. Alright, so this morning, this is where things get really crazy, guys. If you thought the house meeting was intense, just wait. Alright, so this morning, Bridget decides to confront Michelle about the weirdness that's been going on. So they've always been like, this is the time to try to fix it. So Bridget's like, obviously I know that you're upset about the eyebrows comment because she heard about that from Day. And she's like, I don't remember saying that, but if I did, it was definitely a joke. Oh, you said it, girl. So Michelle's like, well, I'm really self-conscious about my eyebrows because they're super thin and it's just, like, annoying, and they're just going on and on about the freaking eyebrows. It's just never ending, and they start going around in circles about things that both of them may or may not have said about each other. You know they don't want to own up to their crap talk, but they were both nasty, let's be real. So Bridget is just like, I want to move past this, I want to clear the air, and Michelle's like, well, I'm the type of person who holds grudges, so no. Okay. So then Michelle eventually admits, like, yeah, I felt like I was really close to Frank in the beginning, and then you kind of swooped in, and I was jealous. That's what this is about, guys. That's what this is really about. So then Bridget's like, well, I always wanted to work with you. I wanted to be friends with you. Like, early on in the game, I defended you when other people were making fun of your appearance. And I believe she's referring to when Paul was saying that she looks like Buzz Lightyear without the helmet, which is, like, messed up. But Bridget does not give her the details, and she doesn't tell her who said it, and Michelle's just like, what? They said I'm fat? They're making fun of my teeth? Like, what was it? And Bridget's just like, no, I'm not going to tell you. Alright, so they don't really resolve anything, but it's time for the power veto ceremony. Michelle obviously does not use it, which means that Frank and Bridget are still up on the block. One of them is going to be leaving on Thursday. We'll come back to Michelle, don't worry. So, Day and James were chatting, and the topic was Nicole. Can we trust her? What are we going to do with her? I don't know. So Day was like, yeah, Frank and Bridget both told me that Nicole's playing both sides. We know that Nicole made that final 2 with Frank. And they're like, yeah, we're putting these pieces together and it's all making sense now. So Day is like, I totally believe that Nicole's been selling us out to Frank because he's getting all this information also that only Nicole knew. So, you know, she's got to be a leak there. And it seems like James is really receptive to this. But then, like, a little while later, he's hanging out with the guys, and he's just like, let's get rid of Day next week. What? All right. So then, Frank, he's still, you know, he's feeling hurt that his buddies have not been honest with him. So he was talking to Corey, and he lets him know, I'm disappointed in you, bro. You guys should have been straight up with me the whole time. And Corey's like, doggy, I really wanted to go through with the plan if Michelle used the veto. Like, I wanted you to stay. So Corey's saying, like, it really hurt me that you weren't looking me in the eyes this morning. Oh my God. So then Frank is like, all right, I'm going to be real with you, Corey. You should not trust Nicole. She is shady as hell. She's really close to Day. And Corey's just like, wait, what? Really? I didn't think that was for real. No. And Frank's like, yeah, she's playing dirty. But honestly, I mean, Nicole is being shady right now, but her number 1 is Corey. She's not going to turn on Corey. Come on. But Frank's trying to plant some seeds of doubt there. So then, back to Michelle. She was crabbing about Bridget all freaking day. She would not let it go. And she was telling everybody about her little spat with her. And then she was talking about how Bridget was saying that people were talking about her behind her back, and she was trying to figure out what was said and who said it. And I don't know who ended up telling her, if it was Natalie or what, but Michelle confronts Paul, and she's just like, I need to ask you, did you call me Buzz Lightyear without the helmet? And Paul's like, I may or may not have said that. So then he's trying to spin it. He's like, oh yeah, Buzz is a good looking toy. There was just this one time you got out of the shower and your hair was like all slicked back and you had those big blue eyes. So he's like, yeah, it was like a So of course, Michelle isn't angry at Paul for this comment. She's just like, oh, whatever, I don't even care. But she's still freaking pissed at Bridget because she's jealous. Okay, so now things are getting wild because remember how Julie was like, yeah, we're having this twist or whatever, and it's going to be in play for the next 4 weeks. So I didn't think that Big Brother was going to, like, formally hint to the house guests about the twist. I thought it was just going to be like a, let's see who figures it out or doesn't. But this message pops up on the TV screen, and it's like, clues to the secret are all around you. You may want to keep it to yourself. What the F? Oh my God. If they are so trying to save Frank, it's not even funny. So Frank and Bridget and James and Natalie are the first ones to see the clue. So they all start running around the house. James and Natalie are looking at that departures board. And then eventually everybody is clued in to the clue. So they all start looking at all the signs in the different rooms, and they're going up to the phone booths and like checking out different numbers, trying it out. And then after a little while, Paul is the first one to figure it out. So he went to the phone box upstairs, the one at the end of the HOH hallway, and he got the right number in there, and then there was a phone message. Now, I don't know exactly what the message was, because you could hear it on the feeds, but at one point, Frank was just like, what's going on? And it was a little hard to hear the message, but so the phone message was like, stay calm and don't panic. You will now be given top secret information. Congratulations, you've just discovered a secret destination. By your feet, there's a latch to a tunnel. Once inside, crawl through the tunnel to the secret destination. It may be in your best interest to keep this a secret for now. The door will open for 5 seconds. I don't know if it was for 5 seconds or in 5 seconds or what, but there was some sort of time thing, and basically, if you didn't want to go in at that time, you could leave it, come back, dial the number again, you get the message again, and then you can go in the tunnel. So at that point, we don't know what the power is. Paul did not get in there right away because the coast was not clear, because Frank was freaking right there, and Frank would not leave the phone booth area. He knew that Paul was onto something. Paul is trying to throw him off. He was even like, oh man, I think it's something out in the backyard. Like, you should go out there and check it out. I was waiting for Paul to be like, hey, Julie Chen's over there. Seriously, though. He was trying everything to get Frank to leave, and he was just like, no. So then, eventually, Paul lets Corey and James know, like, I'm onto something, I think I got it, but I need you guys to get Frank away from the phone. So, eventually, Paul gets in that tunnel, and there were still other people watching, so they saw that he was getting in there, but he was like, I just gotta go for it. So he crawls through the tunnel into the Paris room, and we find out what the twist is. So there's 12 envelopes in there. 11 of them are one-way tickets, and one of them contains a round trip. So everybody who enters this room gets to pick an envelope, but you cannot open it until you're evicted, or it will be void. Also, you're not allowed to mess with anybody else's ticket, and you'll get a punishment if you do. They will, I don't know, pee in your salad. But anyway, if you're evicted and you have the round trip ticket, you will immediately re-enter the house and be back in the game. So I guess they are potentially going to have also a jury buyback. That's crazy. And then it was like, it's up to you if you want to share this info or not. So potentially everyone could get an envelope, but this is only for the next 4 weeks that it's applicable. So Paul leaves, he crawls through the tunnel again, and everybody's just like, what's going on, what's going on? So they've all seen that he's got this envelope now. So he goes to the living room, and he's like, all right, this is what's up. I went in this room, I picked out an envelope, and I can't open it. So he doesn't give them much information. They're asking him, like, what's the code? They don't even know if more people can go in there. He's very secretive about it. It was shady. So eventually, Victor is the next one to figure out the code. He goes in there, gets an envelope, and then, you know, one by one, everybody's going in there. So then once everyone has an envelope, Paul is trying to justify to his friendship, why he didn't tell them the code and tell them what was up. And he's just like, oh, I didn't want Frank and Bridget to figure it out and, like, risk one of them staying this week. So they're just like, okay, we get it, because he kept going on, the same thing over and over. And Nicole was really upset that Corey didn't share the code with her. She was like, Natalie told James. What the hell? So she was really hurt by that. But we're going to pick it up there tomorrow because that was a lot. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think of the twist? Do you think that they would have told them about it this soon if Frank and Bridget weren't up on the block? I don't know. But let me know. And until tomorrow, much love.